Godzilla and King Kong. This has been going on for a long time. You know, Godzilla is a very, very popular character, and so is King Kong as well. Now, this is the 5th installment of this Godzilla vs. King Kong monsterverse type of thing right here. They fought a total of 5 times, and their first fight was in 1962. And just a little fun fact is that their very first fight, King Kong actually ended up winning. But we're not here to talk about that. That was just a little bit of a history lesson. We're here to talk about the new installment, which was Godzilla and King Kong, the New Empire. And what this video is specifically about is, yes, we are reading the worst reviews for this movie right here. But before we fully dive into what the critics and the audience had to think, let's look at some numbers really quick. Godzilla and King Kong New Empire released on March 29, 2024. And so far in the worldwide box office, they are currently at $209 million worldwide with an $135 million budget. So honestly, it's doing pretty good right now. Like I said, this is what the video is about. What the critics and audience had to say. The people that hated it. 54% of the critics recommended that you go watch this film. And 93% of the audience recommend that you go watch this film. Very big difference in critics and audience scores. Now, the audience score is actually very, very good. And I say I would agree with the audience. Yes, I have finally watched a movie before actually doing this video. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go on the audience's side and say that this movie was actually pretty good. You watch it for the big Titan fights, the big monster fights. This is what we all go to the theater to see. Now, honestly, the story behind all this is not that bad of a story either. It's very easy to follow along and understand what it is that's going on, and you can understand the purpose of Godzilla and King Kong meeting up together. It's a very good movie to watch. It's a fun watch as well. But for the critics, it's damn near split down the middle. It's a 50-50 toss-up here. Half the critics like it, half the critics don't. And right now, we're gonna start with the critics and what they thought about this film. As much fun as it is to watch the Titans fight, at some point you go like, what's the point of this? Well, clearly you just weren't listening to the story. From a radioactive roar in 2014 to atomically terrible breath in 2024, the Monsterverse is getting long in the decaying tooth. Wow, he just flat out said that Godzilla has bad breath. I mean, it's radioactive. Do you really expect it to smell good? Godzilla X Kong is as big and loud as expected, but when the dust is settled, there's nothing to hold on to. The kaiju clash is a crushing bore. Now, I'm just gonna have to disagree with you right there. Those fights, insane. And that's what you watch it for. That's the point I'm trying to get across, is that you watch it to watch King Kong and Godzilla fight each other or fight other monsters and fuck them up. I mean, look, the story matters too, but I mean, shit. The main event is the fighting. A dull, overproduced, exhausting, and tedious video game masquerading as a movie. Hey, look, if they came out with a video game of this specific movie, honestly, I would play it because the whole Hollow Earth thing is kind of fire. And if you could free roam with either Godzilla or King Kong in the Hollow Earth, like, look, think about it right now. It actually sounds pretty dope to do. I'm sure Unreal Engines is probably making something to where you can free roam as them in the Hollow Earth. They do all that type of stuff. The people who've inherited this franchise are so determined to make it fun that they've forgotten how to earn that feeling. I think they earned it, man. I think they earned it. Now, the audience is going to go ahead and keep pouring out that money. All right, they're almost at $250 million, and it's what, the first weekend in the box office, and it did better numbers than Dune so far in its first weekend. So, hey, I think the franchise has earned that feeling from the people. The last 20 minutes live up to the promise of bulge ongoing viewers with plenty of rock'em sock'em combat and demolished human landscapes. But what any of it is actually for will be forgotten even before the dust begins to settle. Now look, I will say this. What didn't make any sense at all is the final fight, and you know, this is a spoiler, the final fight was in Rio de Janeiro, right? And there's, you know, people on the beach, and Godzilla and King Kong and the Scar King and like his little pet that's kind of like a variant of Godzilla, just uses frost. Hundreds and thousands of people died in that area. I mean, they completely leveled like Rio, like, completely leveled it. And I was kind of thinking in my head, I'm like, yeah, they stopped a threat, but it's like they weren't any better because they completely leveled an entire place. So it's like, yeah, the city is saved, but I mean, hundreds and thousands of people are dead, and all they wanted to do was go to the beach. Instead of the title's rather inexplicable use of the multiplication sign, they should have called it Godzilla plus minus one, reflecting the fact that it's both too much and not enough. I like the effort on the wordplay there. I will say there were some things that were kind of rushed, and there were some things that were like, it seems like a little bit of lazy writing, but at the end of the day, like, you go there for the fights. It's not a hard story to follow. You could still understand what it is that's going on. Yeah, it's only an hour and 55 minutes. It wasn't very thought out, like as far as story trying to explain what is going on and why Godzilla and King Kong need to be together, but it was pretty simple and easy to understand what's going on at the end of the day. Now, if it was just a bunch of mindless fighting and like zero explanation as to what it is that's going on, I could see that point. But everything was kind of explained. Now for the critics, let us move on into the audience on what they had to think. There's only 7% of the audience that does not recommend that you go watch this film, and we have to search for those people. They do not hold back. Too modern, not like the old King Kong vs. Godzilla. Too many different animals. Old ones were like 50, 60 years ago. It's like, you gotta get with the times, you gotta upgrade all the stuff. Like, you gotta think, like, the fucking fights back then were just two sock puppets on a little set just fighting each other like this. So it's like, nobody wants to see that in 2024. It doesn't really make any sense what you're trying to tell me here. Worst movie of the year 2024. Waste of time and money. Wanted to walk out first 20 minutes. Whoa, that's crazy. It was campy. I think my grandchildren liked it very much. I found it silly. Well, that's because you're an old fart, Barbara. The movie was well made, but just plain dumb. I felt dumb watching the movie. The wife and I just wanted something to do, so we went to the movie, and that was about the only non-rated R movie showing. So we picked it. Big regret, neither one of us liked the movie. Well, I don't know. This is kind of like a little unfair thing. It's like you weren't really interested in the movie in the first place because, you know, you just randomly picked a movie that just wasn't rated R, and you just wanted to watch it because there was nothing to do. So it's like, I don't know. This is kind of like a little unfair type of thing. It's like we didn't really have plans on watching it. We watched it and we were just bored because we didn't have nothing to do. So stupid. The actors are terrible and never had a chance to be good because of their awful writing. The movie was more about Kong than Godzilla. The last fight took too long, way too long. Look, I'll agree with that. It felt more like a King Kong movie featuring Godzilla. That's kind of what it was. It could have passed off as just a King Kong movie, and then you have just Godzilla in the cameo. Kind of like, you know, Captain America Civil War. Like, it has to do with like a whole bunch of characters being involved, but they're not going to call it Captain America, Iron Man, Black Widow, Falcon. They're not going to list all these people into the movie because it mainly has to do with Captain America. It's kind of like Godzilla and King Kong. It kind of really did have to do more with King Kong, or at least it felt that way. So I kind of see his point right there. But the last fight, disagree. I thought the fight was amazing. Read one more. That was the worst movie I've ever seen in the last decade. They really managed to screw up a cool franchise with this stinker. Do yourself a favor and watch something else. That pretty much wraps it up right there, ladies and gentlemen. What are your thoughts? What do you think? I need to know your guys' opinions, especially if you're tuning in. And if you're tuning in for the first time, it's, you know, a good choice for you to go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Leave a like on this video because it helps out so much. And stay tuned for the next one. Thank you all for watching.